Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Just Davis. I started the live stream and it wasn't streaming to X, so I had to stop it and I'm starting it again. But this will just go as a regular podcast episode available on Spotify, iTunes, Substack, or YouTube if you want to check it out later. And I just had some things to say about Candace Owens. And I don't do my old podcast anymore, just listen to yourself. And so I don't really have a formal format. I just get on and talk when I want to. And I have really tried to stay out of this Candace Owens stuff because A, she annoys me. B, I paid a heavy price for being the first person to ring the alarm on her publicly. And it was me. I've learned from Trump, you should be humble. You should take credit where credit is due. And it was me that stuck my neck out there back in 2020. There's an article, you can go find it on Red State. I'll share it here to the screen. But I wrote about it and it's called The Trouble with Candace. I wrote about it in 2020. And I said then, look, I'm really uncomfortable with how quickly she has risen to the top of conservatism. She's not properly vetted. And furthermore, I have questions about the way she speaks. And I said then, I know you guys really are excited about the way she talks about Black people, because I think it was a relief to hear this popular figure maybe say things that white conservatives were worrying about or have been concerned about, but couldn't voice on their own behalf. She said a lot of that stuff out loud. And I think it made some people who were feeling wrongly accused, it gave them some comfort, fair enough. But then it also gave some legitimately just weak thinkers and racists permission to think about Black people in a certain way. And I talk about it in this article, and I talk about how it's not that she's not that some of the things she's saying aren't true, but I say that her rhetoric is not made up of any persuasion. And that was my problem. It's one thing to be an influencer, and I didn't understand it at the time that she was an influencer. And I don't think a lot in conservative media understood she was an influencer and not a thinker. And so the big places like Daily Wire and The Blaze and everybody else, everybody did it, so no one's guilty on their own, but they elevated her quickly as if she were a critical thinker and a persuader and a debater, and she's not. Her say in this article, her rhetoric is not made up of persuasion. It's negativity and bomb throwing designed to rile up her audience. And let me tell you, her audience is not Black people. This is never more obvious than when I or any other Black conservative display even the slightest criticism. We will get responses from a couple of Black people and then 1,000 white conservatives. Okay. So that was back in 2020. Now, when I wrote that article, I lost thousands of followers and readers, and I got thousands of complaints and messages, and I got dozens of DMs from other Black conservatives who said, and I still have all your DMs, everybody, who said, thank you for saying this out loud. I can't say this out loud because I'll lose all my followers. So there's a lot of Black conservatives out there who said, I'm glad you said it. I don't get in the mix because I'm scared of Candace's followers. So I took, and you know what? I'm not even mad at them, because the truth is, I guess they did the right thing, because I for sure paid a professional price for doing it. I lost work with people that I wanted to work with, some big names, people that I was working on deals with or working on collaborating with, who, when that came out, they didn't want anything to do with me. I won't name those names. I guess I'm not going to name them. I'm not even sure if any of them even care anymore. But if you're out there and you're seeing me talk about this, yeah, you owe me an apology. You owe me an apology, because all of these people, by the way, they're all now distancing themselves from Candace and saying, well, we've got to stand up and we've got to talk about this. And we have to be, we can't just let her go unchecked. We've got to combat this. We have to, more speech is better speech, right? These are the same people who said, we can't work with you because you're too critical of Candace. The same people, like the very same people. You do the math on it. So anyway, I since then learned that it doesn't matter. And I realized also that she's an influencer. She doesn't do what I do. But this is why I don't have a million followers, right? I don't do that. I'm a writer essentially and a commenter, but really a thinker. Really a communicator. So I don't do what she does. And once I realized that, then I kind of understood, well, we're not in the same space. So I'm not going to get those jobs. She's doing what she's doing and she's doing it well. She's making her money. And why bother then? Because it's just riling up her base. I get nothing but grief. And no one believes me anyway. And everyone just thinks I'm a whiny, jealous complainer. That's the number one criticism I got. You're jealous, Kira. You're jealous. Still, there's probably people watching this right now going, she sounds jealous. Even again, from industry people, I got that. From industry people, some of whom are probably looking at this feed right now. Kira, I love you. I got that. I love you, but I think you're wrong here. I think maybe there's a little bit of envy involved. And again, all the same people who are now saying, what happened to Candace? When did she get so crazy? No, she was always this crazy. I tried to tell you before. No one listened, but that's neither here nor there at this point, I guess. And I really should stop complaining about that because it is a problem now. And I've tried to stay out of it because to my mind, you don't want to fuel the fire. And a lot of this is influencer politics to me. I don't understand the whole influencer sphere on the right. I'm not a part of it. I've never been a part of it. I started in this business before we even knew what an influencer was, and I'll be here long after the influencers are gone. So I thought, okay, this is them. And I'm not a part of it. Also, I'm Gen X. Like, stay out of my face. I'm trying to raise a friggin' family while they're forcing boys into my daughter's school bathroom. This kind of thing I'm thinking about. And I've come on here and said it's perfectly fine to ignore this, but it's not going away and it's not getting less. So more and more people are talking about it. And I am a communicator. And since I was the person to break the story on the right that Candace Owens was not who we were trying to pretend she was, then I guess I should be out here talking about this because this really is getting ridiculous. I know who Candace is. I've known this whole time. And most of you are now figuring out who she is. But let me explain her to you. Okay? Grifter gets thrown around a lot. And I think that term has lost a lot of its meaning. A lot of people don't even know what it is. But a grifter is just someone who follows the tide of popular culture to earn money, right? I'll be whatever you want me to be. Actors are grifters, really. I'll be whatever you need me to be. So a lot of people say, well, she is a grifter, or gee, she wasn't always a grifter, but now she's a grifter now. I don't think Candace is a grifter, actually. I think grifting is a bit more calculated and requires a bit more savvy. Maybe savvy is not the right word because I do think she's savvy and I do think she's clever. I don't want to pretend that Candace Owens is stupid. She certainly is not. But I don't think she's clever enough to maintain a grifter posture successfully. Candace is a pick-me girl. She's not an influencer, really. She's not intellectual titan. She's a pick-me girl. So everything that she's done, if you look at, and if you don't know what a pick-me girl is, a pick-me girl for Gen X might not understand that term, but a pick-me girl is just, the hard up, like clingy wannabe girl. The hoe. She's not a girl's girl, that kind of girl, which is funny because I just read an old article, which has now been scrubbed from the internet by her, that she wrote back in the days when she was a new blogger, back when we were all just blogging. Back then, I was writing blogs about how to save America for my children. And she was writing blogs about how to sleep with another girl's boyfriend. And she wrote a whole article. She wrote multiple articles about It's none of my business if this guy is your boyfriend or not. He's in the relationship, not me. It's empowering to sleep around, and I'm not a girl's girl, and I'm not here to protect your relationship. I mean, again, that's neither here nor there. If you love Candace Owens, you're going to think that that's just fine. You're going to be like, oh, isn't that great? I'm only telling you this. Again, it's been scrubbed. She's scrubbed everything from the internet. She has scrubbed everything that's negative about her. You know, that's another way you can tell that she's a pick me girl. Because, so let me back up. This is a girl who is saying, I'm not a girl's girl. I'm in it for me, right? I like the guy. I'm talking to the guy. He's paying me attention. He's giving me pleasure. He's giving me enjoyment. So no, I'm not a girl's girl. Again, fine. If that's who you are, that's fine. That's what I'm telling you. That's who she is, right? She's never changed. She's no different. She's a pick-me girl. She was a pick-me girl back then when she was 20. And she just went through a series of personalities to try to figure out which personality would allow you to pick her, because she's always just wanted to be picked. I think that's why she doesn't like being black. In America, you don't always get picked in many circles. If you're black, you're definitely not the first one picked, and not if you're a black girl trying to grow up in a majority white society and trying to adhere to those standards. It makes sense to me that Candace doesn't like black people. I don't think she likes herself. She's always been a pick-me girl. And that's what she is now, a pick-me girl. But even back then, when she was writing those trashy hoe articles about how it's perfectly fine to be a hoe and be out there hoeing around with other girls' boyfriends, and I am not a girl's girl, she's setting it up right now. Believe people when they tell you. And people change. People grow. They mature. But you go try to find that article. You can't. It's scrubbed. Candace isn't out there going, that's who Charlie was. Charlie went out there and said, this is who I was. This is who I used to be. The man I met, the Charlie Kirk I met at 20 years old was not the Charlie Kirk who left us back in September. He had changed in the time I knew him. He changed, and he always talked about that. He didn't make it a secret, and he didn't run from who he used to be. And he encouraged other people to make that change, not Candace. Pick-me girls don't want you to know who they were. They only want you to know who they are right now, and they'll be whoever you need them to be. So when you go, I don't know why Candace is like this now all of a sudden. She didn't used to be like this. Yes, she did. She always was. She just figured out which personality you would pick. And that's the Candace Owens you caught. And then that's the one you came to like. And then when she picked a different personality to get a different group of people that she wanted to pick her, she changed. And you're going, well, God, she didn't used to be this way. Yes, she did. She was always this way. I don't know if Candace Owens really cares about the state or plight of Black America, or, if she really has ideas about solutions for Black America. I don't think she cares. I don't think she cares if white people are racist. I don't think she cares if Black people are racist. I honestly don't think she cares, period. Whatever side of that issue is going to get her the most attention is the side she's going to pick. When she wrote those trashy hoe articles, she was also putting up sites to dox Republicans and conservatives and people who break CRT and DEI policies. That was her. And then she became a feminist warrior. There's an iteration of Candace Owens on the internet. A lot of it's been scrubbed. There's that iteration of it too. And then she became a YouTuber. She did Red Pill Black. That's when she started to find there might be a little juice on YouTube. And I think what happened, I can't be sure, but I think what happened is she started talking about a subject that conservatives liked, which I think was celebrity culture. And then when they started picking it up, she just leaned into it, right? That was that version of Candace Owens, a YouTube warrior. And then she became a master influencer. She joined TPUSA, and she became the Gen millennial Pied Piper, if you will. And then she became the face of Black liberation. I'm going to liberate all of Black America from the Democrat slave plantation. And then she became an investigative reporter. And now she's what? Right? Then she became a Kanye stan. Then she became an anti-Semite. Then she became a Trump fan. Then she became a Trump hater. Pick me. It's pick me. She loved Charlie, then she hates Charlie. She loved TPUSA. She took all their money that they offered her and worked for them. And now she hates TPUSA. She's pick me. Wouldn't you understand who she is, you can understand better what she's doing with Charlie and Charlie's legacy. Why would she dig in like this? It's the weirdest thing. She had the Macron thing going on. You know, she's got her whatever she's doing with Nick Fuentes and the Groypers over there. She's got a whole thing going on over there. She also does a lot of like celebrity commentary. She's hot and heavy on the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds thing. Like she's got other things going on. And we know that she knew Charlie. Why would she dig in like this? One might think she might lean into the sympathy angle more and get more, attention for the loss of a good friend. Why is she choosing this way to dig in? Right? It's because if you understand who she really is and who she has always been, you can understand what her problem is with Charlie and TPUSA. And it is that he picked her and then he didn't pick her. And he didn't pick her for the ultimate job, which was his wife. Now, I don't know Charlie well enough or Candace at all, to tell you what their personal relationship was like. I can only give you an opinion based on hearsay and third party talk from, what I learn around the industry. And I never really heard anyone talking about anything going on between them. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. What I'm saying is that when Charlie, and this was always my biggest problem with Charlie, this is why I would fuss at him so much, and I got the reputation for doing that. I really was annoyed with him for bringing us Candace, and no one listened to me when I was sounding the alarm at the time. And everyone was like, "You're jealous." So I was always annoyed with Charlie over that. But what happened was they picked her, and they had a pretty good run. Her and Charlie were a good team. They did great things up on that stage, and Candace has some really great footage you can go watch in her TPUSA days, really giving it to those students, and I think she fit in very well over there at TPUSA, actually, for a while. I believe, this is only my opinion, that Candace wanted to build an empire. And that's really what she's always aimed at. There's something inside of her that makes her feel like she has to prove herself. She wants everyone to pick her. She wants to be at the top of the heap. I'll give you another example of that. A couple years ago, you may remember, she got into a bit of hot water after she had her, I think it was her second or third child. Her and her husband live in Nashville, and she was hired to be the featured speaker at a very prominent Republican women's event in Utah. She took $30,000 for the event, and then the day before called to cancel. And she said that she could not take that time to go to fulfill her obligations because she didn't realize how much effort it would take to be a nursing mom. She was, basically she was just saying, I've had the baby and I'm more overwhelmed than I thought it would be. I can't go. That's just too long of a flight. And then she asked for a private jet so she could do a quick turnaround, go in and turn around. I think they did accommodate that, and she just ended up not going at all. She just flaked. $1,000. She just flaked. Well, what did she do the night of the event she was supposed to be at? Was she at home with her nursing infant? No. She was at a birthday party for Brittany Aldean at the country music star Jason Aldean's ranch in Nashville. That's where she was. That's why she canceled. She's a pick-me girl, and she found something better. Somebody better picked her than the dumb old Republican ladies in Utah. Pick me girl. If you start framing everything she does with that in mind, things start to make a lot more sense. So you might feel like, whoa, she's switching it up. I never knew she felt this way or that. No, what happened was she met a group of people who she wants to pick her, and now she's saying what she thinks they want to hear. And for whatever reason, right now, it's the groypers. I don't know why. I don't have a foot in that world, so I don't know what kind of money is flying around. But there might be some other interests as well. I do think some foreign interests are throwing cash around the influencer space. I don't know if she's one of those people that's getting that, but I do know that there is something in this for her. It's not that if you hear Kira Davis saying something, making an argument, having a debate, it's because I'm feeling passionate about that. This is a topic that I believe in, and I want to discuss it, and I want to talk about how to improve it or make it better or, keep winning. I do what I do because I want to win for America, for Republican politics, for liberty. Sorry, you can hear my dog growling back there. Lola, be quiet. She don't even like Candace. But when you hear me talking, you can bet that it's something that I really am passionate about and have been thinking about. When you hear her talking, it's just because she's trying to grab an audience. She's trying to be who you want her to be. So Kanye West didn't, pervert her or make her into somebody that she wasn't before. She's always been that person. And when Kanye West picked her, she became more of that person. And then when he decided to not pick her anymore, she picked a different personality. She picked a different topic. And that's why you see her making all of these ridiculous assertions about who killed Charlie and who's responsible, what the conspiracy was. It was the Utah government, then it was the FBI, then it was Cash Patel, then it was security guard, then it was Frank Turek, then it was Erica Kirk. You just keep flipping and switching. She's trying to figure out which one will make you pick her. She's trying to figure out which theory you're going to pick, so you'll pick her. That's what she'll land on. She's always been this person. And it doesn't matter if her clock is right twice a day, right? Like there's some things that she says, a lot of people would say to me, well, Kira, she's not saying a lot that's different from what you say about the Black community or the plight of Black people, right? You can have the facts straight and still you have absolutely no intention of fixing this problem. And again, like for some people, she made them feel better about all of the negative things they think about Black people. Some of those things have been earned. And for a population of people who have been, just sick of being the butt of every insult and complaint and criticism in American history, being asked to be accountable for some of the worst horrors in our history. Like, yeah, white conservatives were sick of that. And of course, they're going to find any port in a storm. And Candace had a loud voice for whatever reason. People elevated her and more people heard her, and it made them feel better, right? Not to feel better to be racist, but just feel better to know, like, okay, it is okay for me to be feeling kind of upset about this. And I don't like this. And so they didn't know what they were listening. They didn't know what they were looking at. But see, I'm a Black woman and I'm a Republican and I'm a former liberal and I'm 51. And so I know what I'm looking at when I see it. And I clocked Candace from the start and I paid a heavy price for it, a price that still, reverberates to this day. And that's fine. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. But she is a real person, right? But you don't know the real person. And the person she's showing you is just the person that she thinks is most expedient right now. That's the person you'll pick. Charlie didn't pick her. And she's never gotten over it. And a lot of those text messages again, like saving 12-year-old text messages, that's normal. But I guess, that's the biz. But a lot of those text messages, sometimes when I was looking at them, what I saw, what I was reading between the lines, you take it with a grain of salt, but what I saw was a young man who, was being friendly to this woman that who he once thought of as a good friend, and maybe was trying to keep her placated, and maybe also felt a little bit bad for whatever rejections he had offered her. And I don't know what their personal relationship was. I don't know the different ways he may have rejected her over the years. He clearly rejected her very privately and quietly. You never got a statement from Charlie about her, and perhaps maybe we needed that. Hindsight's 2020. Just like, and I'm not blaming Charlie either, because I've been pretty quiet about her, fairly quiet over the last few years. Also, just not wanting to stir the hornet's nest, but also just not wanting to fall to any friendly fire. But it's clear that she's causing a lot of problems. People like her, Nick Fuentes, are causing a lot of problems. And it's clear that people on the left are going to want to make her the spokesperson for the right. But I want you guys to remember that we did that to ourselves. I told y'all not to make her a spokesperson for the right. She hadn't earned it. Again, that's Monday morning quarterbacking. Hindsight's 2020. I'm going to get a hat that said Kira was right about everything to go next to my Trump hat. But at this point, now she's all of our problems, right? And we can't let her be made a symbol for us on the right. So I'm here to tell you the same thing I've been telling you since 2020. Candace Owens is wrong. And just because her clock is right twice a day doesn't mean that she's one of us. And she is not one of us. She's worse than one of us. She's not even one of them. She's not even a liberal and a Democrat. She doesn't believe anything. That's worse. That's worse. Because those are the chameleons. Those are the people who can mold themselves into what you want them to be. Me. You know who she's like? You know who she reminds me of? Dylan Mulvaney. Right? She's the female Dylan Mulvaney, or the black Dylan Mulvaney, however you want to put that. But that's a guy who he was a theater kid. He was a pick me boy for whatever reason. I mean, so much so that he went into theater. I know as a former actress myself, I'm one of those people too. I get it. I'm a theater kid. That's why it takes one to know one. But right, he was always looking for what would make him famous. So at first he did Broadway, then he did like some sketch comedy, and then he tried to do like I think fashion critiquing, and he did some super gay TikToking. He thought it would be like a gay icon. Like nothing he did worked. Nothing he did worked until he picked up on the trans thing. I'm going to be, whatever, 100 Days of Being a Girl or whatever. So he tried all of these different identities until he found one that people would pick. Candace is that person. And that's how she is with her issues, right? That's why they switch so much. You pick one until she finds the one that you will pick, because then you'll be picking her. And again, when she's entertaining people, if you want to click on her stuff, if you like, there's a lot of interesting stuff to look at with the Bridget McCrone stuff, Yeah. There's interesting stuff there. If you want to click on it and be entertained by it, that's fine. And that's another reason why I've been happy to leave this alone. But now this is spilling over into the actual grown-up work that needs to get done. Like, we have to win. And again, this is another thing that I want to say about all of the Candace fans out there. We're like, well, Kira, she does have a point about where the security guard was standing in relation to the rooftop when Charlie was killed. Or she is asking these questions about whatever. She's asking all these questions. What has she done? Like, what has she solved? What victories has she had? What's the investigation that she mastered and then was able to get law enforcement convictions or political action on? Right? Who is the family of a victimized family that she has helped get justice for and helped spread the story and spread the word? Right? What has she changed? What politician has she stumped for who has won or even lost, but she's gone out there and raised money for right? What op-eds does she write about how we solve the transgender crisis or how we solve the affordability crisis or what's happening to our kids? What marches has she gone to stand with parents and mothers and fathers who are fighting against boys in their girls' locker rooms or sports? What results has she gotten for anything? So fine, go be entertained by her. Do not pretend that she has anything to do with what we're doing here on the right. She's not one of us, and she never has been. I don't know where her loyalties lie. They do not lie with America. And they don't lie with Charlie or Charlie's mission. Think about how the world changed even on the day of his memorial. Can you possibly imagine being someone like Candace Owens and then trying to pretend that, oh no, Charlie wasn't, none of this was real. None of this was real. We have to ostracize her. We have to keep pushing her out. I'm glad everyone's on board with it now. And I do want to point out that when it was just Black people that she was talking bad about, a lot of folks didn't have any problems with that. And that kind of makes me sad. But maybe this is a good, like, learning moment for all of us, really. Even for me, because I don't think I've helped things by staying quiet. I don't. But I just wasn't quite sure how to deal with it. And again, like the price I paid for it was so steep. And being an independent media personality, I don't work for anybody. Yeah, I just thought, well, you know what? Maybe I am just jealous, but I'm not jealous. I wouldn't want to live like that. First of all, and I feel like I see it when I see her now. Maybe I'm just making it up because of the filter I look at her in, but I don't think she's doing well right now. And to keep up that facade and to always be constantly chasing that approval and constantly that pick me energy, it's exhausting and it rots you inside. You have to look at that person when you wake up every day, and she knows the compromises that she's made in her life. And she knows the lies that she's told, and she knows the people who have betrayed her even. She knows all of that, and she lives with it every day, and I kinda have the feeling that she's sort of painted herself into a corner now, and she's trapped. She doesn't have another grift. Like, I don't know if there's a new audience for her to go find. I don't know if there's a new group of people for her to ask to pick her. I feel like it shows on her face. So, I don't know. Candace is a problem, and she's always been a problem, so let us label her a problem and let us say she is not one of us. She does not represent the right. Those of us who do represent the right, politically speaking, we're out here working. Even people, not everybody's got to be on the ground, by the way. I don't even think that. I don't know, like, I don't expect Megyn Kelly to show up at my school board meeting. Do you know what I mean? I think she does a great job doing what she's doing where she is. But I also know that Megyn Kelly's not an idiot and she's not lazy. She's doing stuff in her own community. You just don't hear about it. She's like staying abreast of things and keeping involved and keeping informed. And she's probably stumping for people in her local community. All I'm saying is I don't expect every influencer or every personality out there to be on the front lines marching. That's not what I'm saying, but there's a difference between people who are in the battle and people who are just profiting from the battle. And Candace is just profiting from the battle. Fine, but leave it over there. She's not one of us. Grown-ups are doing business. We have 1 year to convince America that we have the right agenda to take us the rest of the way. It's not playtime. People who are serious aren't thinking about how their pockets get lined right now. We're thinking about how we save this country for our kids. We're thinking about the future. We're thinking about what happens to good, honest, hardworking Americans if Democrats are ever allowed to be in charge again. It's very serious business. We almost lost everything in November. So we really don't have time to be dealing with, pick me rejects like Candace Owens. So whoever has to talk about her out there, go ahead and do it. Say all the things that need to be said about her. If you've got some info on Candace, if you've had a distasteful interaction with her, I suggest now is the time to get out there and start telling people about it. Like, stop being quiet about it. Be brave. Because I know a lot of y'all keep that under your hat because of what happens to you when you speak out against Candace. So now's the time to go out there and start telling people exactly what you know. If you don't want to be held responsible for the idiot, retarded things she says, get out there and start telling your story and start talking about how stupid she is. And start reminding people that she's not one of us. And if you're one of the people who brought her to us, maybe apologize, right? Maybe tell people that I didn't get it. That was wrong. Right? I was a bad judge of character. That's not the type of person we want here on the right. I was dazzled by her influential sphere, her number of followers, and I didn't really put a lot of thought into all the red flags. Right? That would be nice so that we can all learn from it and then we don't give ourselves another Candace Owens. Again, we did that to ourselves. We did that. Right? The left didn't plant her there. The left didn't give her to us. We did that. And so the people with experience who were saying this isn't a great idea, our side rejected those people. And so maybe next time we won't, if there's a next time. But let's not let there be a next time. Let's circle the wagons here and push this organism out. She's no place here. She's not helpful. It's not that she's not helpful. It's that this is war and she's in the way. This is who Candace Owens was. She's a pick-me girl. She hasn't changed. Nothing's different. This is who she always was. This is who she always was. Follow me on all the things. I got my name back on Twitter, on X. It's Kira Davis now. I don't have to be real Kira Davis as if there's some fake Kira Davis out there. Now I can just be Kira Davis. They have a new program where you can go claim unused old handles that people squatted on years ago. So thanks, Elon. Actually, this is one of the most exciting things about New X. So I appreciate that. Go sign up for the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Substack, and sign up for my Christmas podcast, Journey to Christmas Land, where we review cheesy TV Christmas movies. And I will catch you on the flip side. Listen, until we meet again, I just want to give everyone permission to say the things you're thinking about people like Candace. All right. So Gen X, if you're like me and you're like, hey, I'm just trying to keep my head down and do what I do and mind my own business. But this might be one of those times where you need to stir from your slumber and just put a few words out there. And if you've had an interaction with Candace that was displeasing, you should definitely be talking about that. People need to know who she really is. I don't think she knows who she is, but you definitely don't know who she is. She's a pick-me girl. And once you understand that about Candace, you understand everything. Bye.